Good morning, gearheads. Wake up, it's early. We're going to get you ready for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix just 1 hour away. Welcome to the Speed City F1 pre-race show for the 17th round of the 2025 Formula One season. I hope you have yourself a fresh cup of coffee as we get you ready for what has become one of the most interesting races on the calendar. Thank you, Casey Johns, producer. He's up early with me. This is Jon Massengale. I am the gentleman driver of the team, if you will. But do not worry, I am joined by the professionals this morning. Bob Varsha, a voice that everyone knows if you follow Formula One. Bob Varsha, how are you this morning? It's early.
That's right. I'm call me the gentleman radio commentator. And you're absolutely right so far, 100%. It's early, but we'll get by. And after the qualifying we watched yesterday, I expect fireworks in Baku today.
Well, we have a little special treat because I didn't expect Chris Medland to be on with us quite so early because he's doing some F1 TV duties. But Chris Medland is with us. How are you, buddy? Okay, Casey's getting you ready. Just a second, Chris. Man, he's been a busy morning. He's been a busy boy this morning, Bob. He has got some interviews. Chris, how are you, buddy?
I'm very good. Thanks, chaps. Have you got me now?
We got you now. How's it going out there?
Awesome. I'll try and...
That was bizarre.
Very good. Very windy. But I'm on pit lane roaming duties for F1 TV later. So I've got this little window here to come and say hello and talk about some of the interviews I've already grabbed before I then go and annoy drivers in the pit lane, which is obviously their favorite time when they're trying to go to the toilet to have a microphone thrown in their face.
Yeah, you reach a certain age and going to the toilet becomes much more important.
Well,
yes.
Well, Chris, you already answered my first question is how's the wind? But you already said it's already gusty.
Very gusty. I mean, so you'll hear in the interview with James Vowles at some point in this pre-race show that he says the wind's died down. It hasn't. It's maybe not quite as persistent, but when there's gusts, they are still strong. And it's the gusts that were a problem yesterday as well. When the wind really picked up just for a split second, it really could derail things. So that's what the drivers will be dealing with today as well. And I think there's going to be plenty of unpredictability if you're behind the wheel of a car, but also great for us watching that it's invisible to us on TV, but you suddenly see someone going straight on and having a big lockup, and it can be just because the wind picked up at the wrong time.
Well, that's what I want to start with, because if you didn't get to see qualifying and you're just tuning in this morning, maybe you're in the car headed somewhere, yesterday's qualifying was it was historic, let's put it that way, because first of all, it lasted 2 full hours, like maybe a minute or two short of 2 hours. Yes, you heard that right. Not less than an hour, but 2 full hours. And there were 6 red flags, the most in the 75-year history of Formula One. And I think, Bob and Chris, maybe y'all can get this right if I don't have it right, but I think that the 6 red flags were all 6 crashes from 6 different drivers, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Chris?
That rings a bell, yeah. I mean, we had Franco Colapinto in the wall, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc. Pretty sure Ollie Behrman had one, didn't he, as well? And Nico Hulkenberg. Trying to remember the 6th after all of these. There's definitely one more. Who was one I've forgotten?
Oh, I'm trying to remember who they were. I haven't yet had pulled my notes out, Chris. I just got to the studio, but yeah, it was honestly, it was the craziest.
Alex Albon.
Albon, that's right. Thank you. But it was the craziest qualifying session I've ever.
Too many, isn't it?
Yeah, too many. That I've ever experienced. I don't know, but Chris, that the wind is what really caused what happened yesterday. Yes, we got a little bit of rain, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, because when that rain started coming down with just a few minutes to go, that's when I started thinking, okay, where's Max? How's Max doing? Because, he is just magical in the rain, and it turned out that's exactly what happened. Max Verstappen took the pole with a lap, and in fact, Casey, have we got Max Verstappen ready to go? Because I want to play Max's clip, because I saw his interview on the television, and he talked about exactly what I'm saying. How when it started sprinkling, and then Lando Norris was out trying to get a lap, and he was looking at the rain, thinking So let's hear from Max Verstappen right now.
Hi, Max. I think we've all just about caught our breath after a session like that. Obviously, to get a lap almost half a second faster than P2, just take us inside the cockpit. What does it take to deliver something like that when there's so much potential for it to go wrong in conditions like that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, of course, it was very long qualifying, so a lot of waiting also. You never really got into a rhythm. Maybe that was the good thing about it all, that no one really got into a rhythm. But yeah, I felt good the whole qualifying. The car, honestly, the whole weekend again was just fine-tuning. That's what you want. And yeah, we then in Q3, of course, again, red flag. I had to make a tire choice as well towards the end, but we nailed the lap. I mean, it was drizzling a little bit on the visor, so it's not always easy to be on the limit, but at one point you do have to commit. And yeah, that's what we did. And I mean, today has been very difficult with the wind as well. It's been super windy throughout the whole lap, and it's super easy then also to make a mistake.
And looking ahead to tomorrow, obviously you're in a great position and there's theoretically slower cars directly behind you with McLaren a bit further down the grid. Does that give you confidence that you can bring this home and get another victory?
We'll see tomorrow, to be honest. I mean, I try to just focus on our side. Yesterday I was quite happy with the long run, and I hope that tomorrow it will be fairly similar.
Thanks, Max.
Chris, that's exactly what I wanted him to say. The interview in there, we talked about at some point you have to commit. I mean, I think that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, a number of drivers were pretty brave out there, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. That is one of the reasons we saw so many crashes. It showed how difficult the conditions were, but also that this is a track where you have to commit very much mid-corner. I was having it explained to me by one of the race engineers actually yesterday, that the type of corners that we have here, you have to make a call when you're still off the throttle in the corner before you get to the apex, and you're going to full throttle because you need a good exit. And you have to bet that car is going to stick enough and you're not going to hit the wall on the way out. Now, in other tracks, you might be partly on the throttle already and you're about 80% throttle and guessing when to finally give it that final 20%. It's much better margin for error there. So that's what's so unique about Baku. And you add in the wind, you add in the low grip, a lot could go wrong. So it was something very, very special from Max. And I chatted to a Red Bull team member about 10 minutes ago who said he still amazes them, surprises them each time what he can produce with the machinery he's got. So it's not just us waxing lyrical about him. Even inside the team, they don't get used to it.
That's
they
exactly
used to call Dale Earnhardt Sr. a man who could see the air in the aerodynamic draft on the draft on the big NASCAR tracks. Tune in another hour and I'll be back with it.
Yeah.
And I think Max is kind of a guy who can see the grip, especially when the rain starts falling lightly and it's harder to spot where the track is wet and dry. Yeah, that's really phenomenal.
I mean, it just feels like Max is just at a peak of his powers at the exact right time in his career when he's showing everyone that we all know he doesn't have the best car, and now as we've been saying that all year, the last two races, at Monza, the Italian Grand Prix, the car was clearly way better, and now we don't know yet because the conditions have been so tricky. But it just feels like he is just at peak Max Verstappen right now, Chris. Oh, I think we lost Chris. Actually, I think he had to drop off to go do F1 TV. I just looked, but Bob, don't you agree that Max is just at a special place right now?
It's an indication the car is better because look at Yuki Tsunoda, second best qualifying of the season for him in sixth place. I'd say the car is definitely better.
Well, that is one that we're going to be watching, of course, but we have a lot to talk about because, like we said, there was 6 red flags, 2 hours of qualifying, and we have to say that that was probably, I don't know about you, Bob. I'm just saying it was. I absolutely loved the fact that we had so much drama and so much to try to digest. We went straight on the air, of course, right after qualifying, and I felt like I was, there's no way we could have talked about it all.
Yeah, definitely. Although I must say the crews trackside in Baku did a great job clearing after every red flag. I mean, they were really on the ball. some of these things can last for 10 or 12 minutes, but I think they move things along nicely. And I will also say that I will never play poker with James Vowles from Williams, because when Albon had his problems, the cameras flashed to the pit wall for Williams, and Vowles never changed expression. He's got the best poker face on the grid.
Yeah, I saw that too. It was pretty amazing. Well, speaking of James Vowles, Chris caught up with him probably just about 20 minutes ago. So if we're ready, yeah, let's hear from Williams team principal James Vowles.
So I've snuck into James Vowles' office pre-race, just looking it through the strategy that he's got up on the screen in front of me. Really interesting to see some of this, James. But from P2 and P19 today, real split in your two cars. How do you approach this one?
Yeah, real split. Just really shows you how difficult qualifying was yesterday. Good question. Carlos, we have to recognise there's lots of fast cars behind us. And so we choose who are really racing properly today and who we just have to accept are probably just going to be a little bit too quick and let fortune play a little bit hard to play in it. So I think for everyone here going into today, if you ignore safety cars and VACs, it could be a one-stop. But the reality behind it is it's Baku. You saw 6 red flags yesterday, so don't hold your breath. It's about keeping ourselves out of trouble, and let's see what we can do with Carlos there. So clean start, clean turn 3, and then just settle into a rhythm and see where our pace takes us. With Alex, we can try something a bit different. Don't have really anything to lose from back there. We have a fast car, which is great, and you can overtake in Baku. So watch this space.
Giving up intel, but Alan Permain did say about how quick Alex was, at least on Friday, and that maybe they can race with Carlos, not too sure. But is that fight with Liam Lawson an interesting one? If you keep him behind at the start, it gives you a bit of a buffer to those quicker cars behind?
Yeah, exactly that. I think we have a little bit of pace on them, so it's sort of what I meant by if we can have it clean into turn 3, I think they'll naturally help our race. Their race is anyway to secure the maximum number of points possible, and that should hopefully just keep our nose in clear air.
Now, you mentioned interruptions, safety cars, red flags. Formula 2, remarkably clean earlier. 1 safety car at the start and then ran clean. How hard is it to prepare for a race here in Baku? Is it one of the tougher races to try and get right?
Yeah, spot on. So if you look back at our history, there's a couple of races, I think there's 2 where we had nothing going on in it. A complete surprise, because I remember one of those years, Formula 2 couldn't do more than 2 laps in a row. We've conversely had races here where we couldn't get going after safety car after safety car after safety car. To your point, you do all the normal sims, so weather's not going to play a role anymore. It's not going to rain, so we can eliminate that, which helps a little bit. Winds die down, so that'll help a little bit as well. Now what we do is a series of simulations that allow us to understand in normal conditions what should we be doing, and then where are we sensitive at different points in the race to incidents, accidents or otherwise, and try and plan around it as much as possible.
Now, I know just finally on F1 TV yesterday we pushed you for where you could finish with your 2 cars or with one of your cars. Have your simulations, your work overnight, changed that picture at all? Do you sit here thinking we could be on the podium today, or do you sit here thinking if we get some solid points, I'll be walking away happy?
I mean, you've got a different microphone colour in hand. It feels like you're mixing and matching your hobbies here.
Hobbies? I'm paid for this. Somehow.
Answering your question, it hasn't changed my perspective. I want to earn podiums, but we have to earn them. And here today, we've got some really quick cars that are out of position. Best we can do is making sure that if opportunity comes our way, take it. But we're here for solid points haul.
Well, good luck today. I appreciate the time on every different channel.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All his
And
hobbies.
every different microphone.
Yeah. So look, again, like I said earlier, if you missed qualifying, Carlos Sainz is P2, starting in P2 today. And so that's why we were excited to get hold of James Vowles. And yeah, Alex Albon had a crash, but yeah, Bob, any thoughts from James Vowles' interview there?
Well, he's his usual playful self with Chris, which is nice because people are often, will speak in more candor than you might find from someone who is straight-laced, company line. The thing that made McLaren so hard to like back in the days when Ron Dennis was running the show, but Zach Brown has just turned all that around, and life is good over at McLaren. Williams, I can't think of how many times we talked about Williams being a fast car and only for them to come up short in the races. I'll put my hand in the air and say, hey, in the waning moments of Q3 yesterday, I think everybody in the pit lane might have been looking at Carlos Sainz on the time and scoring board and and hope that he got that pole. I know I did, just watching what everybody else did. And eventually everybody's favorite villain, Magic Max Verstappen, was able to come through and eke out a pretty healthy lead. I mean, almost a half a second over the rest of the field. That's pretty substantial stuff. But we have a lot of mystery going into this race because of those 6 red flags and cars having mechanical issues and biffing and boffing here and there around the track. We haven't seen yet what the race pace for a lot of these cars will be when they're set up for the full 51 laps around Baku today. It's going to be really interesting. And I agree with you, John, that the wind is going to be an extraordinary factor if it continues to blow with the intensity that Chris told us about when we came on the air.
Yeah, I mean, that's what made everything so interesting yesterday. I mean, we think about it, Bob. This sport is so much about aerodynamics. And then you stir all of that aero up with all these wind gusts. And what happens is what you saw yesterday in qualifying. And really what we expect to see today. We expect this wind to stir things up. All right, well, let's get a quick break in. You're listening to Speed City F1, and we will be back after these quick messages. All right, let's see who's up. Well, Tim TW is up because it is, I don't know what time it is for him, but yeah, good morning, good afternoon. Bill Ricker's here. And Bill is listening on XM and on YouTube here. I'm not sure exactly how he's doing it, but yeah, by the way, Jonathan is not going to be with us on the pre-show, but he will be with us on the post-show. So he'll be with us. He's up in VIR.
Oh, mayhem!
He's in VIR creating mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
So he's up there for the Formula Regional and Formula 4. Man, we got some really good news, Bob. I don't know if you woke up in time to see what I'm about to talk about, and that is Jack Crawford won today. So, yep, and Chris caught up with him. So that puts him. He jumps
Great.
back up
Hear
to
that.
he jumps up back up to second in the standings where he was a couple of races ago.
Mm-hmm. Good. Keep it up, Jack.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that here in just a sec. I was just checking the TV coverage to see what the hair of the presenters is doing in the wind. TW says, what's the over and under on the caution flags today? That is the question, isn't it, Tim? That is exactly.
Oh, man. Go with the over. I don't know what the number is people are basing their guesses on, but essentially nothing's changed from yesterday. Yeah, the guys are going to be going a bit slower because you do that in a race. You're not using the setup in qualifying that's a race setup because you want the ultimate lap. You just want to go as fast as you can make the car go. And then no matter where you started, no matter where you qualified, you fall back.
Hi, this is Karun Chandok, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back. We're about 40 minutes or so until the Formula One Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and we're expecting another exciting session from Azerbaijan because yesterday was incredible. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little Formula 2 because we have an American racing in Formula 2 and having a really great year is Jack Crawford from Houston, Texas. And Bob, it is turning out that Jack Crawford is the real deal because today, this morning, Jack Crawford held off a charging Joshua Dirksen across the line to take a third feature race victory of the season in Baku, putting him up to second in the Drivers' Championship. Again, he's back up to second. He lost the pole at the start, but following a safety car restart, he managed to regain the lead before going on to win the race. And this is super exciting. And Chris Medland caught up with him probably about an hour ago and was able to grab the young American and get his thoughts after his win.
So I'm here with Jack Crawford, and Jack, you have ticked a very important box, getting a win here in the feature race in Baku from pole, and closed up now second in the Drivers' Championship, I think, after today. How pleased are you with your work this weekend?
Yeah, fantastic. Monza was really bad. No points, out of our control, and honestly, my thoughts of the championship were just gonna do my best and see what happens. There's probably a slim shot I win, and then everything just went right. Pole position, great sprint race, feature race win. Pretty near maximum points. So I mean, that's exactly what I needed to do, and of course some misfortune for other. I don't know how Richard did, but I saw Luke was down in near last place. Leo, of course, got a penalty. So yeah, it was a great weekend.
Yeah, P4 in that sprint race, and that was a race that had a lot of chaos in it. It was typical Baku. This one, the feature race today, much calmer. You had to get back to the front after dropping a third off the line, but then you had to withstand a lot of pressure in the second half of that race from Dirksen. Just how tough was it?
Yeah, it was really tough with the wind today. There was a direct headwind into turn one, so slipstream was massive, and I felt I had to push quite a lot to keep Gabriele out of my DRS, which I really wasn't able to do. And when he lost DRS, I knew those were my laps to make my gap, because I saw Josh coming behind me in my mirror. So yeah, I had to push a lot, and of course with the defense as well, I knew Josh didn't seem like he was going to take a big risk, so yeah, worked out in the end.
How much you have to balance pushing though, and maybe keeping some tyres back in case there's a safety car again, because there's normally interruptions here, and we didn't get it this time.
Yeah, it was tricky. I seemed to fire up my tyres quite well. I was on the attack of the first lap of the race, also directly after the safety car. So I felt like that was our strength, and that's what caused me to of course win the race. But it was also almost our downfall, which almost led me to having a bit too much deg at the end and being under pressure. But I was lucky enough to have clean air, so I was able to manage the tyres well.
So I think, if I've got my maths right, you're 19 points behind in the Drivers' Championship right now, up to P2. Bit of a gap, though, to Qatar and Abu Dhabi, the final two rounds. What happens for you between now and then, other than thinking a lot about the championship?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to think about it too much. There's just a lot of preparation. I'll be super busy doing a lot of F1 stuff with Aston Martin, so traveling to a bunch of races, doing a lot of sims. So, yeah, from that side, I mean, it's just business as usual, and yeah, just going to be a long time till we race.
And could we see you in an F1 car any time between now and Qatar?
Possibly.
We'll keep our eyes open for that one, but well done this weekend, Jack.
All right, thank you.
We're going to have to keep an eye on this, because Cadillac has still not set their official reserve driver. Of course, we've got Bottas and Checo for the drivers, and we've got Colton Herta as a test driver, but they have not set the reserve driver, and to me, Jack's always been on that radar, so we'll keep an eye on that. But, Bob, I want to shift to the Drivers' Championship right now, because the Constructors' Championship is a foregone conclusion for McLaren. And coming into today, yesterday was very interesting on that front, because Oscar Piastri made a rare mistake and put the car in the wall, probably because of the wind. And it presented a tremendous opportunity for Lando Norris, who came out with that at the very end of Q3 with the rain hitting. Right then, he came out with a tremendous opportunity to try to put that car on pole and put a big gap between he and Piastri to start the race.
Yeah.
But Lando was not able to do it, and I feel like it was probably the timing of the rain. And we do have a clip from Lando Norris yesterday right after qualifying, and I just think that timing of the rain might be a big part of it. But let's hear from Lando Norris.
Hey Lando, 7th on the grid in the end after that mammoth session. Obviously really, really tricky conditions as well. But with Oscar going out, I don't know if there's a sense of maybe hoping you could have got a bit further up the grid, particularly with the Drivers' Championship in mind.
I mean, I would like to be on pole, yeah, of course. But no, just wasn't quick enough, and the final run was always good before, and I think we took the risk of trying to go first out, thinking, if there was another crash, at least I get the lap in. But I think it was just a lot worse for the track because it was still raining a little bit. So, yeah, you win some, you lose some. I'm not disappointed, let's say, because I made a small mistake. I hit the wall on the final lap, but otherwise, just a trickier track for me being the first one out, and I paid the price for that.
And looking ahead to tomorrow, obviously it's looked really good pace-wise for you throughout this weekend so far. Does that give you hope that you're going to make some spaces up tomorrow?
I mean, overtaking is pretty tough around here. I mean, we're obviously a bit out of position, and there's a few different cars, let's say, ahead of us. But Max has been on the pace the whole weekend, and so I think to try and win tomorrow may be a bit unrealistic. But of course, we're on maximum points, and we need to do some overtaking.
Thanks, Lando.
All right, Bob Varsha. What do you think about the Drivers' Championship? The way today that may help this play out.
Well, I'm tempted to say that Lando Norris has marked himself with that qualifying session as the most likely number 2 finisher in the championship. We know he and his teammate Oscar Piastri are 34 points or so
31
apart coming in. It desperately needs to score points. Now, he may do so today, but I consider that performance in the waning minutes of qualifying yesterday to be, a mark of something missing in his driving style. Yeah, he was getting a lot of information from the pits and his engineer about what tire to be on and when to go out and yada, yada, yada. But when you compare it to what Max Verstappen did, and once again, it's like Verstappen has this sixth sense about where the grip is. How many times have we seen him go from, well, Max is out of it, to, holy, you know what, Max is on pole again. What he does is just phenomenal. So maybe it's unfair to compare him to Lando, who is, who doesn't have that sense of all of this. I think Lando has made it pretty clear he's not going to be able to catch Oscar Piastri, who is known for not making mistakes. And that's why we were all shocked yesterday when he was one of the drivers to stick it in the fence. And, he was running with Charles Leclerc, who is an acknowledged qualifying master. That was one of the bizarre things about that record 6 red flags was some of the guys who brought out the red flags are the season-long heavy hitters in this championship. So, let's see what happens today. And let's keep in mind that McLaren has an opportunity starting here in Baku to clinch the defense of their Constructors' Championship and all the rewards that come with that. They need to outscore Ferrari, the second-place constructor, by 9 points. And things are more desperate for the 2 teams that are still mathematically in, Red Bull and Mercedes. McLaren has every reason to make sure they score points, not win races necessarily, but score points. Keep your eye on the big picture. And I think, Zach Brown and the team will remind both Piastri and Lando of what they need to do today.
Yeah. And I was looking at the scenarios. So assuming Max Verstappen were to win, and this is by no means a prediction, but I just wanted to run this scenario where if Lando Norris finished second and Piastri finished third, that would take the lead from Piastri down from 31 points down to 18, because that would give him 339 and Lando 311. And that would put Max Verstappen at 255, which before the Italian Grand Prix, you would have been, it almost looked like there was no chance at all for Max, still mathematically. But if Max were to win again, so that would, 2 races in a row, and that's assuming maximum points for the McLaren drivers finishing second and third, Norris second and Piastri's third. So that would give you 339, 311, 255. That you would go, okay, I'm a little bit nervous now if I'm a McLaren driver for this championship, because we've been talking about the scenario of them winning, where the fact that it's going to come down to one of those two more than likely. And who knows about the future, that you may never get that chance again. We've talked about that. So that's such a big deal. So, yeah.
Well, and to keep in mind, you want all the points that both of your cars can score. And here we have Yuki Tsunoda, who's had a miserable season, but suddenly he's qualified in the middle of the top 10, sixth, I think. And he starts scoring points on a regular basis, and that changes the whole dynamic. If he's driving, in support of Max Verstappen, but helping to push his team along, which is what they wanted from him all along here.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, you've been wondering about the entire grid. Well, Bob Varsha is going to run down the entire grid for you. Listen to Speed City back after these messages. All right. Let's see if anybody's waking up out there on YouTube. All right. Who's out there? We got TW. We got Bill Ricker chiming in. There's a few people that are not online. Where's Kevin Kelly? He was so excited. He wanted to talk about a couple of things, and I know where Kevin Kelly is. He said he woke up at 2:30 yesterday, so excited for the race, for qualifying for practice 3, and now I bet he's sleeping in. So we'll hopefully we'll see him later.
That's why God invented the DVR.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the stories we got, Bob. We also, of course, have the interviews with Ayo Komatsu and Alan Permain. Really excited to hear from Permain and Komatsu, actually.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from Ayo about the Haas situation. They were cited for a technical infringement, but they managed to talk their way out of it. So, they bought Ayo's expression there, and basically there was an inappropriate part at the rear wing, which failed the deflection test, meaning it moved too much when it was put under load in the scrutineering process. But they got away with it when Ayo said it was a manufacturing defect, which I think is everybody's first explanation when a part is found to be wanting, shall we say.
Yeah. That is that's a pretty big deal, though. You don't want to. That's one that you don't want to have as a team. You don't want to have to worry about that. All right. We also got an interesting little clip from Bobby Epstein. We talked about this on the Sunday night show a week ago. But, all right, here we go.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you only get to pick 2. What if you could have all 3 at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and the Specialized Bikes have since they upgraded to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How is it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/formula. That's oracle.com/formula. All right, Bob Varsha, before we get into your grid, we have a clip from Bobby Epstein, the chairman, one of the founders of Circuit of the Americas, right here where I am in Austin, Texas. And he had some news because he was optimistic about a new deal for Circuit of the Americas because their current deal, expires next year. And honestly, it's to a foregone conclusion more than likely. But let's hear from Bobby Epstein, chairman of Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, well, conversations are ongoing, and I think we're optimistic. I have little doubt that they want to do anything but continue, and likewise do we. So that is a pretty good starting point for conversation. But there hasn't been a sense of urgency on either one of our ends, I don't think. And when it's time, we'll come to an agreement. I don't think there's many big differences really for us. I think that they would like to see an expanded paddock club because they continue, like our clubs this year are all sold out. The paddock club, the trackside, Club SI, it's been incredible, the demand for the hospitality. So I think what they would like to see is a bigger paddock club, and we're looking at creating something incredibly special that I hope we unveil along with a contract extension. So it'd be a paddock club unlike any paddock club that anyone has currently. So that's what we're looking at and we're talking about. We're very excited about it, both of us.
I saw your eyebrows pop up, Bob, when he said a paddock club like no one has. I was like, I don't know what that means. And
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Yeah. What are they planning? You know, I was out at COTA not too long ago and I heard rumors about the new contract. And by the way, I was so excited to tell Chris the rumors that I heard live on the Wheel to Wheel show. And he was like, well, there's an update to that. And I should have known better than try to scoop Chris Medland because I'd heard that they were probably going to announce it at the USGP,
Why would you do that?
which is 26 days away, right, from the Friday practice from today. And that's why I want to bring it up. But I have no idea what this could be. But if he's excited, I'm excited.
Absolutely. And that's the mark, I think, of good track management. You have something every year that's new and different. I think he makes a lot of great points about how, the track has been really a huge success when it comes to Formula One. So they can count on that continuing into the future. And now it's just, what is new and different that we can do. And, just take your time and go through everything. They also, have been signing up other tracks and extending contracts and so forth. So that kind of sets the rules about what other tracks are doing in terms of the fee they pay to bring the circus to town. He referred to something big happening, and he's done that a lot lately in our discussions with him. So if Bobby's itching to show people what they've got, and hey, look, when we were there for the WEC 6 hours, the Lone Star Le Mans, you can see the theme park is coming along. The rides up into the air, the garages, and we're hearing stories about other garages built by enterprises other than the track itself. So the surroundings in sleepy little Elroy are expanding. And that is always a good sign as the location becomes a better and better place to visit. I mean, we all know what downtown Austin is like. It's wonderfully weird. But now that same spirit, I think, and that theme seem to be spreading into the immediate vicinity of the track. So, if whoever you're going out there with is not a keen Formula One fan, as the Brits would say, there's other stuff for them to do out there. I mean, Bobby and his crew were instrumental in bringing big time music acts to keep people entertained. And I have friends who shall not be named who are asking me if I could help them get tickets, not because they were keen about the race, but because they were all fans of the musical talent that was on stage, particularly Eminem last year. So, it sounds like it's all good for Bobby in the track.
Yeah, when Bobby got the biggest one was in 2016 when Bobby got Taylor Swift and added 80,000. Yeah. The prediction was that they added 80,000 tickets, and I was in that crowd with my young daughter at the time on my shoulders in a sea of a concert crowd like I have never seen in my life, and I believed every bit of 80,000 because I was on the grandstands on the other side of the track, and if you know where they set up that big super stage, I mean, I must have been a quarter mile away, it felt like, from the stage. But anyway, and by the way, Bob, there's a lot more going on than you probably even know about because I'm here on the ground in Austin. The city council has announced that they are partnering with a development firm and Circuit of the Americas for a new convention center and 1,000-room hotel on the grounds of Circuit of the Americas. So that is years away, but that is huge news. Imagine, I mean, 1,000-room hotel on the grounds. That would be incredible. All right, well, you know what?
That's like Vegas.
That's right, exactly. All right, let's shift gears.
Yeah.
We got a lot more to get to because, Bob, you got the Varsha grid for us ready to go. So let's hear, after all the craziness from yesterday, how did it all play out?
Oh, boy. You're trying to contain all of what we saw yesterday. It's going to take some time, so I'm going to talk really fast. Here we go. On the pole, Max Verstappen for Red Bull. Once again, just when you think the reigning world champion was on the ropes, he slaps you upside the head, as we say here in the South, by taking pole. In this case, his 6th of the season, most of any driver this year, the 46th of his career, and the first for Red Bull Racing at this track. P2, Carlos Sainz for Williams. A good news, bad news quali session for the proud Williams team. The popular Spaniard starts on the front row for the 15th time in his career, 6 of those being poles. But he was nearly a half second off of Magic Max's time, and that wasn't all the bad news. Hold that thought, and I'll get to it. Row 2, P3, Liam Lawson, Racing Bulls. Best ever grid position for the Kiwi, who's probably still smiling as teams begin making driver decisions for next year. Notably, Lawson put up his best lap as a light rain began to fall to hold off the 4th-place driver, and that would be Kimi Antonelli for Mercedes, just 100th of a second behind Lawson after a scrappy session for the Italian, it must be said, with his 20th birthday. Think about that, just a few days away. He also lost his best lap for running wide, which added pressure, and he was investigated for a possible yellow flag investigation or for violation, but he was not penalized. Row 3, P5, George Russell for Mercedes, coming into the weekend feeling under the weather, which may be why he was out-qualified for a GP by teammate Antonelli for only the 3rd time this season. P6, Yuki Tsunoda for Red Bull, one of 2 drivers on the grid who's been out-qualified by his teammate at every race this season thus far. Guess who the other is, and I'll get back to it in a minute. Second best start for Yuki this year as he fights for his seat at RBR. Row 4, P7, Lando Norris for McLaren. With about 4 minutes to go in Q3, Lando's teammate and the championship leader, Oscar Piastri, brought out the last of a record 6 red flags in qualifying. But, but rain had taken some grip out of the track, and though Verstappen was able to post a pole-winning time, Norris could not make it happen. P8, Isaac Hadjar from Racing Bulls. There was more in his car, as Hadjar was a provisional P3 before the rain left him behind. P2. We'll let it out. Oh, we can't. We're live. Hadjar was a provisional P3 before the rain fell behind Carlos Sainz, who at that point was lined up for pole, and his teammate Lawson. Then Leclerc and Piastri stuck it in the fence, and the Frenchman fell back. Row 5, P9, Oscar Piastri for McLaren. An exceedingly rare error by the points leader might have hurt a lot more had teammate Norris been able to reach Verstappen and Sainz up front in the waning seconds of the qualifying, as John pointed out at the beginning of the show. P10, Charles Leclerc for Ferrari. Coming into the weekend, a 4 times consecutive pole winner here in Baku. Leclerc blotted his copybook in Q3 by bringing out the 5th red flag of the 6 and ruining the push laps for a big group of contenders behind him. Row 6, P11, Fernando Alonso for Aston Martin. Team Green achieved a new F1 record by showing up this weekend, as Alonso and Lance Stroll became the first teammates in history to post a total of 600 career Formula One starts. And by the way, Freddie is the other driver who outqualified his teammate at every race thus far. Waitress, more coffee, please. P12, yep, Lewis Hamilton, after topping practice 2 and declaring his new brake setup was perfect, in Q2, Hamilton could not find the handle on the car. He found himself in 10th place. He was then demoted into the relegation zone in 11th by, of all people, Yuki Tsunoda. Row 7, P13, Gabby Bortoleto. Not a bad qualifying 2 session for the Brazilian rookie, but his best run was hobbled by a big slide out of the tricky turn 16 at the head of the long 1.6-mile final straight, and that was basically all she wrote. P14, Lance Stroll, the other half of the Aston Martin 600 start record. The Canadian had trouble finding grip anywhere, as he complained over the radio, and settled into his seasonal average grid spot 15th. The actual 15th place on row 8 is Ollie Bierman for Haas, who entered the weekend with 2 penalty points away from a 1-race suspension, but who would wind up as the luckiest of his group in Q1 eliminations. Let's run down the list of the other 4. 16th place, Franco Colapinto for Williams, another driver hoping to hold on to his seat for 2026, had a massive crash in the turn 4 area. That was red flag number 3. Row 9, P17, Nico Hulkenberg for Sauber carried too much speed into one of the numerous 90-degree corners, shot across the track, speared the outside wall head on, red flag number 4. Although the German was able to rejoin qualifying with a new nose on the car, he was eliminated. P18, Pierre Gasly for Alpine, just seconds before Colapinto biffed. His senior teammate Gasly was stranded in the turn 4 runoff, bringing out another red flag. Then row 10, P19, Alexander Albon for Williams, adding another crash to the mix. Albon clipped the left side barrier with his left front wheel, shot across the track, and belted the wall. P20, Esteban Ocon for Haas. This is where it gets interesting. Things went from bad to worse for the Frenchman. After an 18th place run in Q1, his car failed the rear wing main plane deflection test by less than 1/3 of an inch, and he was DQ'd. The stewards accepted the team's explanation that the problem was a manufacturing issue, whatever that means, and Ocon was added to the grid at the back. So that's your starting lineup.
1/3 of an inch, actually, that's actually a pretty good chunk in Formula One, right? That's not, I was expecting you to say, 2 millimeters or less, or, 1/3 of an inch is probably what,
well,
3-4 millimeters, something like that.
They measure both ends of the main plane on the rear wing. That's the big part that attaches to the car and is supposed to be immovable. And the upper plane is the DRS, movable part of your aero setup. But yeah, when he measured it at both ends, he was, I think it was 5 or 4 millimeters too flexible at one end. And 8 millimeters at the other end. So maybe that makes it more believable that they had a problem making the part and they're paying the price.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get our last break in. When we come back, we'll be about 10 minutes from the start of the Formula One Azerbaijan Grand Prix right after this. All right. We have a new guest in the room. We got Johnny Green up at VIR. Mr. Green, what's up, buddy?
Happening. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you just fine. And yes, I'm already, metaphorically caffeinated because we've been on the air for a while. So I don't know if you can put up with me at this point, but you probably just woke up and got to the track.
That's exactly what's happening.
What is
How
happening?
How far away are you staying?
Danville. Everybody stays in Danville. It's a bit of a interesting.
Well,
place.
that hotel on the property is pretty nice, but I'm sure it's
what's
swamped.
That called? Because I couldn't find it, but I wouldn't be able to get into it. What's it called?
Yeah, it's got a nice restaurant. It's a cool place.
What do you know what it's called?
No, I don't. Well, I probably do, but I just can't remember.
Yeah, that's cool.
We got 2 interviews, Jonathan. We'll have about 10 minutes, and we have about 6 minutes worth of interviews. So we don't need you, buddy. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And I all I was going to do is and you don't need to use me at all. I'm here if you need me. But I was just going to do what I said I'd do, which is just talk about the importance it is for all the rookies this today. Yes,
that's true. That is good. Hey, Casey,
are you anywhere near deciding a champion in Trans Am and maybe some of the other series you're covering?
Well, more importantly, we're about to declare a new champion from Austin, Texas, in F4. So that's a massive first. He's now won 8 in a row, and he starts pole today, and he just basically
he's on pole for this.
He should win the championship, but if he wins it, he'll take the record for consecutive wins.
All right, here we go. Coming back.
I'm George Russell, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Hope you're feeling better, George Russell. Right now, with zero commitment, try Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for free. Head to oracle.com/formula. That's oracle.com/formula. And that's exactly what I did for Speed City, and we're now running on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. All right, guys, we are about 9 minutes from the start of the race, and Chris Medland caught up with a couple of team principals to get their take on today just a little bit ago. And so let's hear now from Alan Permain, who's the Racing Bulls team principal, with Chris Medland.
So I've got Racing Bulls team principal Alan Permain with me, and Alan, starting P3 and P8 today already kind of brings a smile to your face, but can we start with yesterday? Just how pleased are you with the way the team handled those conditions?
Oh, of course, extremely pleased. A very, very tough session. We kind of knew it was going to be tough. Firstly, we know track time is paramount here, and especially with two rookies, so you want to be on the track as much as possible. We'd planned for multiple laps. We actually fueled for the whole of Q1 and the whole of Q2, so we could do pit stops, we could change tyres as we wanted, we could maximise our track time, and of course it worked quite well. But you need to be quick as well, and we had that, which is great.
You had plenty of track time as well, 2 hours of it out there in the end to get that qualifying session done. But as you say, executed excellently. Still, the points are paid out today. And I know you were slightly nervy with Isaac starting P4 ahead of Zandvoort, worried about faster cars around. How are you feeling ahead of this one?
Well, you're right, and I had that same sort of feeling, but I've sort of been checking myself and saying, look, we qualified third on merit. It's not because it rained or something crazy happened. He's third, and he deserves to be third. So we will race. We will race from there and see what we can do. We've got some very quick cars behind us, but we did think that in Zandvoort that we had some quick cars behind us, and it worked well. So we'll do what we can.
Yeah, it's Liam the lead car, which I guess is a great sign of how well you engineer both cars and both drivers can perform, that they can take advantage of these situations. But with a lot of talk around drivers and their futures at the moment, is that a bit of a boost for Liam as well so far this weekend?
Of course, he's put a great weekend together so far, and let's see what he can do this afternoon. But very timely, yes, you're right.
And how do you approach a race in Baku? Is there anything different about it? Because there's so much potential for chaos. I imagine you can't go burning through tyres or thinking of certain things. Do you have to be a bit more flexible here?
I think you have to have in mind that there's a high chance of safety car, there's a high chance of red flag, and certainly dashing in on lap 7 to make an undercut on everyone and then going all the way to the end is a risky thing to do. You have a very high safety car exposure there. It's much quicker to stop under safety car here, so people will have that in mind. I mean, if you're out of the points and you're 12th, 13th, 14th, I'm sure people will try things like that, but it's not the sort of thing that I don't think you'll see the top 10 doing.
Yeah, and a lot at stake for you guys with both cars in the top 10. Just very finally, focusing on Liam, going from P3, Carlos Sainz in P2. That feels like a fight you're potentially going to be in with Williams long term in the championship, but is that also on pace, a fight you feel you can win? Is that an actual target to get ahead of?
They were very quick on Friday on their long runs. Actually, Alex was very quick. Carlos not quite as quick. So no, we're going to race everyone we can. So we'll do what we can. Starting with the start, Liam on the clean side. You never know. We'll see what happens if they come out of turn 1.
Looking forward to watching it. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Absolutely, one of the most fascinating stories of today with Liam Lawson starting in P3. So, all right, we got another interview from Chris with another team principal. And he caught up with team principal for the Haas F1 team, Ayo Komatsu.
I've managed to grab Ayo Komatsu straight after interviewing him for F1 TV, guys, just to show you behind the curtain a little bit. So Ayo is very politely going to repeat some answers that I've just asked for. But you lost Esteban Ocon from the results of qualifying yesterday, Ayo, for a rear wing infringement. How does that happen? Because we're talking millimetres, aren't we?
Yeah, obviously the regulation changed from Suzuka, so we all had to modify our design, and we've done it. And then we tested in the factory, it's been fine, and also we got tested in Spa actually, if I remember correctly, and that was fine. So there is a variation in assembly depending on rear wing specification. Fundamentally, we just got to improve our accuracy to make sure we have more margin. We got found foul of regulation by 0.1 millimeters on one side, 0.3 millimeters on the other side. That's a very, very fine margin. So yeah, you just got to improve on that side.
No, I know you've strengthened the wing ahead of the race so that you can still run it and start from the grid as well, because it's technically the same specification. But going from 15th with Ollie, 20th with Esteban today, did yesterday feel like a bit of a missed opportunity? Because you looked very quick at times this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a missed opportunity. If you look at where Sainz and Lawson ended up in the Q3, all free practice session, especially with Ollie, he was happy with the car. We had the speed. So for sure, it would have been Q3. And then once you're in the Q3, that's the sort of result that can happen. So, yeah, we are very, very disappointed and frustrated that, again, we had this missed opportunity. But at least we got the pace. And then here, anything can happen today. Conditions are very tricky again today with lots of gusty wind. So we just got to keep it clean, just be there. So if something happens at the front, we can take advantage of it.
This reminds me a bit of Zandvoort as well. You were frustrated after qualifying in Zandvoort. You had a car starting from the pit lane and you got double points and a great result with Ollie. So do you kind of lean on that and think, all's not lost, there's still an opportunity to do something special today?
I mean, it's never lost. We always we never give up, and we always fight until the very final lap of the race. And then here, it's a street circuit. You saw on the F2 how many incidents happened as well, and it is this really gusty. And then Formula One car in this gusty condition is very tricky to drive. You saw so many talented drivers making mistakes yesterday. So we really got to keep it clean. I'm sure there are opportunities, but we just got to be there to take it. So that's our aim.
I guess the worst thing for you today would be a normal, quiet race.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Yes, that wouldn't be very exciting for you either. So let's hope there's some dramas in the race. Yeah, then hopefully, we can take advantage of it.
Well, if there's a place it could happen, it's Baku. So fingers crossed it goes well today.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, we are 2.5 minutes away from the start of the race, so we're going to get our predictions in. And Jonathan Green, we've sent him up to Virginia International Raceway to get his take on the Formula Regionals. He's actually following some really exciting stuff we'll talk about in the post-race show. But Johnny Green, we have a crazy wind-filled, shaken up grid race ahead of us. Who are you predicting to put on the podium today?
Ooh, I think the podium's going to be Verstappen, Lawson, Sainz.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing with Lawson? Oh, wow. All right, Bob Varsha, let's get your predictions.
Boy, this is a tough one, but to save time, I'll just say Verstappen, Lawson, and Russell.
Ah, you stole my Russell. I was going to put Russell up there. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go.
Well, you should go first when you pick your.
I'm going to say Max Verstappen and George Russell second and Carlos Sainz third. Wouldn't that be a nice one? I love to see Lawson up there too, because that is such an amazing story. But anyway, that's my predictions. All right, we got about a minute left.
Can I?
Yeah, Bob, go ahead.
Can I make a point? Well, I need to put my hand in the air. I made a mistake going from millimeters to inches earlier, talking about the grid. And as you heard from Io, it was 0.5 millimeters. So it was a much narrower gap than I might have led people to believe. And the other thing is, Pirelli says that racing bulls have no fresh tires whatsoever. Everything they put on the car is going to be scuffed in this race, while nearly half the field has 2 sets of hard tires available, and a lot of them have a fresh set of mediums. So a lot of this race is going to rest on tire performance.
Well, I feel a little bit scuffed myself getting up at 4 o'clock this morning to come do this, but I am super excited about this race. We're going to have the race here in just a few seconds, but stick with us after the race for our post-race show where we're going to wrap it all up for you again. This has been Jon Massengale with Bob Varsha, Jonathan Green, and Casey Johns on the producer board, and Chris Medland. Thanks to everybody, and we'll talk to you after the race.